What is going on, everybody? It is Dylan with Astrodfs bringing you a relook at the 2023 Dynasty class and kind of going over that. Obviously, we can go over the 2024, but we only had one season. So, 2 seasons in now for these rookies. And let's go and look at where we're at with it. So, Bijan, the unanimous 101 pick in these leagues. Even if you needed a quarterback, Bijan was still about 95% of the time the first overall pick. And shout out to Fantasy Football Calculator before I get too far into it for providing this. It's really hard to go back and find this data a lot of the times. It's usually blocked by a lot of ad screens. So shout out to them for this. Link for them will be in the description. But now, Jahmyr Gibbs was the average 102-ish. This is where you started to see a quarterback get mixed in there. I mean, you had your shot, Bryce Young, Anthony Richardson. A lot of those guys were mixed in there. The first wide receiver taken, though, was JSN. That was pretty much the first guy. Jordan Addison after him. And then this is where it got interesting, was Quentin Johnston versus Zay Flowers. And looking at it now, if you took Zay Flowers, right, you had better success than taking Quentin Johnston. The route of the quarterback, right, like Anthony Richardson had some ups for sure. He's also had some really bad downs. CJ Stroud's rookie year was really great. Was a first round in Dynasty startups going into year 2. Obviously, that has changed. A lot of, I don't know if it's bad play calling or just, different scheme that they went with getting someone like Joe Mixon. But the passing game was not the same in Houston. CJ Stroud was good for the attempts he got, but obviously a lot of wide receiver health issues, which is why in this draft they addressed that. They got him 2 new wide receivers. They got him Christian Kirk as well. So with Tank Dell's injury, it's pretty much Nico Collins and then a mix of Christian Kirk, Higgins, Noel, and then Dell when he comes back. And they still have someone like John Mechie on the team too. So a very kind of question mark behind Nico Collins, but hopefully the wide receiver room gets better and healthier for CJ Stroud. But out of the 3, yeah, CJ Stroud by far is the better. What I mean by that is just dynasty, right? I would say Bryce Young easily is overtaking Anthony Richardson. So I'd have CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, Anthony Richardson amongst these 3 quarterbacks here. Anthony Richardson pretty much on a make it or break it type of season, which, for a guy entering year 3 sucks to say, but I mean, the way the NFL is, you only got a few years to prove yourself unless, injuries or other outside things happen like coaching, GM, whatever. You only get a few years to prove yourself now. So out of the 3, yes, CJ Stroud, his value went up the most. Bryce Young, I think his value, if he has another solid season, could go up even more. He's still a young quarterback. He's still younger than, some of the rookie quarterbacks in this class, right? So, yeah, Bryce Young definitely went up. And then here's where we start to get interesting. Zach Charbonnet got taken by Seattle. Obviously, for him, there wasn't a great landing spot. In the time when Ken Walker's been out, Zach Charbonnet has had some really good fantasy numbers, but pretty much behind Ken Walker, it's not the best situation for Zach Charbonnet, so he's kind of stuck. Same thing with Kendre Miller. Now, Kendre Miller, they just have not utilized him, right? And now going into year 3, Kendre Miller's in an interesting spot where Alvin Kamara is still there. They just drafted Devin Neal. We kind of see if this is it for Kendre Miller as well, right? Because if Kamara stays and if Devin Neal outperforms Kendre Miller, unless another team wants to take a shot on him, it could be it. But below him, and we'll go over the tight ends here shortly, but below him is Devon Achane, who this guy rose quite a bit, right? Obviously, his situation was behind Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson, I think, was the running back room in Miami at the time. So It didn't seem the greatest situation for Devon Achane, but injuries happened and he stepped up, and now he is a top dynasty running back. Obviously, there are a few guys ahead of him, but for where he was drafted, right, you got him towards the end of the first, early second, depending on where you were at, right? Like a lot of this scaled, right? Like you could have a guy that was way higher in your draft and a guy that was way lower, but this kind of averages out, right? Just going over quite a few drafts, so Devon Achane's stock definitely rose the most out of kind of most of the people in this tier. Now the tight ends here is where it gets interesting because Dalton Kincaid had a really good rookie season, was included quite a bit. Year 2 was a down year. Now year 3 with obviously no Stephon Diggs, no Gabe Davis. Right now it's Khalil Shakir, Keon Coleman, a mix of Elijah Moore, Josh Palmer, Dawson Knox is still there. Dalton Kincaid's not a throwaway yet, and he's not a guy that's like he's not a throwaway, but he's not like a must-have. But the potential's there. We saw what the potential can be. It's just he has to be utilized, and he did not get utilized. He didn't need to be, right? The run game was so efficient for Buffalo. Josh Allen aired it out to, Coleman, Cooper, Shakir when he needed to. Kincaid got some work, but the run game was just so damn good between Josh Allen and James Cook. You didn't need to utilize Kincaid like you did 2 years ago, where Diggs was underperforming. The connection between him and Josh Allen, same thing for Gabe Davis. So Dalton Kincaid, yeah, his value definitely went down from where it once was, but he's still a young tight end in a pretty much you're getting a younger offense. Michael Mayer, his value, man, like a lot of people were hopeful. I think it was Austin Hooper there with them was kind of stealing some stuff. And then Brock Bowers got drafted to Vegas. And now if you drafted Michael Mayer, you're hoping he gets traded because there is no shot unless they run a bunch of 2 tight end sets that Michael Mayer is going to get value on this Vegas team, which in a Chip Kelly offense, you might see a couple more 12s. But yeah, Michael Mayer, if you drafted him, you're hoping he gets traded. You're hoping this season, in the offseason next year, he gets dealt somewhere because being behind Brock Bowers, there's nothing there. Marvin Mims, Josh Downs, yet again, like some of these guys could have been flip-flop depending on where you're at. Marvin Mims, yeah. He's had a couple moments that have looked good in Denver. Obviously, a new system again, a new quarterback again. I will say for Marvin Mims going into this year, right, 2025, the thing is Courtland Sutton is the wide receiver 1. Evan Ingram now is the tight end. The running back room is still trying to figure out what they're going to be this season. But other than Courtland Sutton for the wide receiver room, there's nothing locked down, right? Vele had some moments. Troy Franklin, I think, had a moment. Marvin Mims had a couple. But now you add Pat Bryant to compete. So there is nothing set in stone behind Courtland Sutton in that wide receiver room. So maybe Mims gets a shot going into year 2 in this system. We'll kind of see what it looks like, but it's not the greatest. Josh Downs. Now, Josh Downs was taken with Anthony Richardson in this draft. And man, we've seen some very, very good upside with Josh Downs. It's just most of the time it hasn't been with Anthony Richardson. It was with Joe Flacco. So for Josh Downs this season, you're hoping between Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson, which is a crazy, crazy quarterback room, you're hoping you get better quarterback play out of one of them, right? Like Joe Flacco did enough. Gardner Minshew did enough for Indy as well. But Josh Downs has a potential to overtake Michael Pittman, although their roles for the team are completely different. But we saw a lot of love for Josh Downs last season, especially when Richardson wasn't the quarterback. So, yeah, Josh Downs, I think if you got Josh Downs in the second round, you're pretty satisfied with some of the other names in here. I think it's not the greatest thing, but I mean, between Josh Downs and Quentin Johnston, like, I mean, you spend a mid first on Quentin Johnston, and you haven't gotten that, versus you spend a mid second on Josh Downs, and it's paid off well sometimes, right? A second round rookie, typically not, like, if you're putting him in, he's in a flex, so the hopes haven't been the highest, but he has paid off in certain games. He's definitely paid off in certain games. If you were to start him, definitely helped your team. There were also moments that he hurt your team, but for a mid second round pick, I think he's been good. And then Sam Laporta finished as tight end one his rookie season, top 10 last season in Detroit. And I'm very hopeful of Sam Laporta going into year 3, even if it is without Ben Johnson. So Sam Laporta, I think being on a Detroit offense to where a lot of those guys are locked in. Amon-Ra still on a rookie contract, as well as Jameson Williams, Jahmyr Gibbs, all on rookie contracts. So as of right now, the future for Sam Laporta looks good. Even though Ben Johnson's still not there, I could see Sam Laporta be utilized a little more. Ben Johnson was very creative of using Jameson Williams, Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, even Amon-Ra in some plays. Didn't see it as much with Laporta either. He was the vocal point of that offense in that game, right? Like, he had a really good game, or he kind of just did nothing, right? Which we've seen guys like George Kittle, to where, like, San Fran had some really, really good games, and George Kittle was just non-existent, and it's because they didn't need to use him, and that's how Sam Laporta was last season. But still, tight end 1, and then I think tight end 8, depending on where your scoring was, but another top 10 out of Sam Laporta. So yes, if you drafted Sam Laporta in the second round, great value returning there. See a couple other wide receivers here, and this is where it gets interesting. Jonathan Mingo, drafted to Carolina. Obviously, he's in Dallas now. Just got traded towards the end of the season for what, like a 4th round pick, something like that. So, Jonathan Mingo, I mean, he's done, right? Between CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, a guy I like a lot in Jalen Tolbert. Jonathan Mingo's fighting between Jalen Tolbert for snaps this upcoming season. So yeah, Jonathan Mingo, not a lot there anymore. We'll go to these running backs here in a second. I want to go over this tier of wide receivers. Jayden Reed is a guy who, if you drafted Jayden Reed, right, you got Jayden Reed in the second. I don't think I really ever, I can go back and look, but I don't think I saw Jayden Reed go in first rounds in rookie drafts. Usually always mid-ish in the second. If you drafted him, yes, you got some great value out of Jayden Reed. He has been a guy that took a huge step in his 2 years in Green Bay, trying to figure out, who's going to step up in that wide receiver role. Going into his 3rd season, it still seems like him. Obviously, they draft Matthew Golden, but, their wide receiver room has a lot of names, and somehow, some way, none of those guys are traded yet. So, Jayden Reed, still his role is safe on that team. And I say role, right? Not saying he is safe himself, but his role. Like, if he remains on the team, his role is safe, right? Because then you have Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, Dontavian Wicks, Matthew Golden. Like, you got 4 guys competing for 2 other spots. So Jayden Reed has definitely paid off if you drafted him. Now, going over the running backs were Tank Bigsby. Yes, a lot of guys like Tank Bigsby. He got drafted to a team that had Travis Etienne, so it wasn't a great spot for him either. Like, a lot of these guys did not get drafted to good spots. It just is what it is. So, Tank Bigsby had a really good year too. Got a lot more volume. We saw Etienne take a big dip last season, and now going into year 3, you don't know how this running back room is going to look, right? Last year for Tampa Bay, we saw Rachaad White, Sean Tucker, and then they drafted Bucky Irving to almost have a similar situation. But yeah, Tank Bigsby is in a very questionable spot to where, in my opinion, if you want to find great value out of a team this season, it's going to be the Jacksonville running back room. One of those guys is going to have a great season. Possibly 2 guys are going to have a good season. It's just taking a gamble on who it's going to be, right? Tank Bigsby had a better year than Travis Etienne last year, but, I mean, Jacksonville kind of had a down year. So, Do with that information as you will, but Tank Bigsby year 3 is kind of a question mark. Roschon Johnson, yes. This one has been, he just needs volume. He's had a couple games where he got a few more snaps, whether that be a couple extra pass attempts, but it just never really a spot to shine in Chicago. Now, going into season 3, you add Ben Johnson as a play caller. The offensive line is, on paper, the best it's been since Roschon Johnson's been there. A lot of weapons there. And I like Roschon Johnson this season. With Nick Chubb now, that news of him going to the Texans. Obviously, you still have a couple other names, like J.K. Dobbins is one. But Roschon Johnson, to me, is going to fit the David Montgomery role in Ben Johnson's offense. We saw someone like Jamal Williams a couple years ago in Ben Johnson's offense, where you had DeAndre Swift as well. Jamal Williams got, 16, 17 touchdowns in that season, set a record. So Roschon Johnson, he has not paid off, right? He hasn't been utilized enough to pay off. But going into year 3, I definitely like the outlook of what he can be. I think he could be a good touchdown running back this season. Obviously, we've seen Ben Johnson utilize DeAndre Swift before. We saw them with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery the last couple of years of using both of them in their own ways. So I believe Roschon Johnson year 3 is looking a lot more promising. Tyjae Spears. This guy has been a guy that's been an RB2, but in his snaps he's looked good. Tyjae Spears has been a guy that fits like a Tyler Algier type of role, to where, like, if the starter was out, they'd be good. But they're not trusted enough to be that guy. They're not trusted enough to be that running back one for the team anymore. For at least for Tyler Algier, he had a shot. Tyjae Spears has been the backup, right? He's been a backup for Derrick Henry and then Tony Pollard. So, yeah, like, Tyjae Spears, if he gets the opportunities, yes, he's going to look really good. But he's just not. It's just not how Tennessee is utilizing him. And this is with 2 different coaches now. So, maybe in year 2 in this system, we could see some better production out of him. We'll see what that looks like. Tony Pollard's not the greatest goal line back, so maybe if Tyjae Spears can improve on that, we could see it. But yeah, Tyjae Spears is good to have on your roster. He's still young. Like I said, he if Tony Pollard underperforms somehow massively, or if Tony Pollard gets hurt, yes, it's good to have Tyjae Spears sitting on your bench to where you can plug him in now. But would I rely upon Tyjae Spears getting that opportunity? No. But it's nice to have that kind of safety valve for a handcuff running back. Izzy. Yeah, this is not where he got drafted. He got drafted to the Jets, now in San Fran. Yeah, there's not a lot of value there. Now, Jalen Hyatt and Rashee Rice. Obviously, Rashee Rice, as the year went on in his rookie year, you started to see the connection between Mahomes and Rice, and was a true threat for Kansas City going forward once that chemistry was built. But then year 2, major injury, a lot of off-season issues. But now going back into year 3, where you have Patrick Mahomes now with Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, and a mix of Hollywood Brown, Juju Smith, Royals. So there's a lot of competition for that wide receiver 3, but you know you're going to get Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy there. So it is looking a lot more promising for Kansas City's pass game. You still have Travis Kelce as well. So yes, Rashee Rice, if you drafted him his rookie year, value was amazing. You hated all the off the field issues, and then you hated the injury. But now going back into year 3, looking very, very promising. So Rashee Rice, yes, great pick, especially with where the value, with where you got him, right? And yes, he is a guy that went high or low, right? You wanted to take the risk or not. So yeah, most of the time a second round pick though. But great value. Jalen Hyatt, he's just buried now in a Giants offense, right? He hasn't shined enough in his role to get field time. With Malik Neighbors there, Wan'Dale Robinson, Darius Slayton, yeah, Jalen Hyatt really doesn't have a role. Will Levis got his shot last season. It's done. He is done, right? It's one thing I will say, if a quarterback makes mistakes, it's another if a quarterback makes mistakes that loses your team games, and that's what Will Levis did last season. He made too many mistakes that literally lost their team games. So Will Levis is pretty much done for. If you want to hold him on your bench and hope that Cam Ward either gets hurt or has a bad year, go for it. But he just did not do enough, even in the games he started, to hold value for me. And then this is where I say, man, like, so many people year in and year out dismiss late round draft picks. So here are some of the names that have paid off, right? Cedric Tillman, we saw get some love last season. Get some love last season in Cleveland. Trey Palmer, a couple things. The big discussion with this draft class in the tight ends was Luke Musgrave and Tucker Kraft. Where Tucker Kraft, his value went up significantly. Luke Musgrave's went down. But Tucker Kraft, you got later in drafts. You got in the third round in drafts. Luke Musgrave, you took a mid second to like early third, somewhere around there. That's where he pretty much went. And now the values change, right? A third round tight end who got drafted the same year as another rookie tight end, his value is now a top 20 dynasty tight end, which isn't, you're getting blown away by, but the value that you got out of him, right? Like last year, the value was great for Tucker Kraft. Going into year 3, yes, it's still like Tucker Kraft is playable, especially if you're in a tight end premium. Tucker Kraft, very playable there. See someone like Chase Brown, right? Chase Brown just needed an opportunity. He needed injuries to happen or guys go away. Joe Mixon went away, had a competition with Zach Moss. He won, and Chase Brown was a bell cow until he got injured. But, going back into year 3, it's Chase Brown again, right? Zach Moss is still there. Samaj P. Ryan, I think, is returned to Cincinnati as well. But it's Chase Brown, right? Chase Brown should be a bell cow. Zach Moss, obviously, I don't think will go away. But I'd say in game dependence situations, it's going to be Chase Brown. Tank Dell. Tank Dell's rookie season had a really good year. Obviously, injuries have hurt his value. Like, he is plummeted so much because of his injuries. But when he's on the field, it is very good. But you just can't get him on the field enough, right? He's paid off. In situation, he has paid off. When he's been healthy, he's paid off. But he's been hurt. So, kind of a double-edged sword there with Tank Dell. Michael Wilson, I think Michael Wilson is a guy that you had some opportunities for in certain games. Year 3, they don't really add anybody. So Michael Wilson is a startable guy in the third round. It's, yet again, it's not like, hey, this guy is a must-have on your dynasty rosters. But if you're looking for a guy that is young, is going to see probably, the third most targets, maybe fourth if you count James Conner, because he's just a bell cow for Arizona. But yeah, Michael Wilson, like, his role is solid on Arizona. Obviously, Marvin Harrison Jr., Trey McBride. Michael Wilson has been a solid enough guy compared to Xavier Hutchinson, Parker Washington, Trey Palmer, Cedric Tillman, Jalen Hyatt. Like, yes, Michael Wilson's been a solid enough pick where his draft capital was in Dynasty Rookie Draft. So I'm okay with Michael Wilson. I got a decent amount of Michael Wilson, and he's a guy I could play. Like, if I have a lot of guys on bye week, I could plug Michael Wilson and just hope he gets me 8 or 9 points, right? He's not going to go and get you 20 or 30 points. That's just not him. His role for the team, at least, right? The talent, I don't think is there yet either. But he's a solid enough guy to where if you have a lot of bye weeks, 1 week, you could plug in Michael Wilson. And then going down, right, the most notable name from this draft class, as far as value-wise, was Puka Nacua. Puka Nacua, there were times we saw Puka Nacua not get drafted, right? Depending if you did 3 or 4 rounds. Yeah, like, no one was looking at Puka Nacua. I don't care what anybody tells you. No one was high on Puka Nacua. No one. I refuse to believe anyone was like, hey, Puka Nacua is going to be a superstar. He's not. What the discussions were, he's a guy worth taking a shot on. That's fair. But anybody saying that they called Puka Nacua to be what Puka Nacua is false, right? The potential, right, of hoping that, like, hey, Puka Nacua has a role, but with Cooper Kupp being there, there was not that discussion, right? He could be a wide receiver too for this team, has the opportunity. No one called him being a wide receiver one and being a top dynasty wide receiver. So his value was great. Like, if you took a shot on Puka Nacua, man, if you got him in a few drafts, your dynasty team's value skyrocketed. He was such a payoff if you got him. So, yeah, and yet again, this is 2 years out, right? I can go back and we'll go back 3 years and do the 2022 rookie class. Like I said, I really don't want to do the 24 class because values can move. Like I said, CJ Stroud's value skyrocketed and then kind of went down just a little bit. So we'll do the 2022 class, but the point of this is just kind of going over where values have went in just a small period of time of 2 seasons. And my point is always, right, like, yes, 3rd and 4th round picks 90% of the time aren't going to pay off. But you have the opportunity to get guys like Tucker Kraft, get guys like Puka Nacua, get guys like Chase Brown, even I don't want to say Tank Dell, but Tank Dell. Like, you had opportunities for some of these guys, right? And they might not have went as late as it shows, right? It all depends on how your league valued them, what kind of league you're in. So, but yeah, the value can be there. You can get some payoff with drafting guys later in drafts. So I hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. I'm doing best ball live drafts all the time. So if you guys are interested in any of that, check that out. I will see you guys in the next one.